You're in the ladies' room and then you realize somebody else is in there doesn't have has a male body instead of a female's body. I mean, it just causes some issues there.
No, it's you should let people go to the bathroom. I think we're going around forcing our genitalia in people's face. We're trying to go to the bathroom, and what you want to do is not let people do that. Your whole argument here is the fact that you don't want people to use a bathroom. No one is looking at what kind of.
I was seriously just curious.
On public record about genitals, and if people would see that, how would anyone know? Kids aren't going around exposing themselves. Kids wanting to play sports with their friends. That's what this bill is. And getting wrapped up in genitals in bathrooms gets us so far away from that, and it dehumanizes our children. My child is so much more than genitals. And that's what I need you to see. That's what every family who has come from here, year after year, is begging you, demanding that you see. I don't know what your genitals are. I am not making an assumption, and I'm not willing to ask that question because it's highly inappropriate.
That uncomfortable exchange is between 14-year-old trans activist Avery and her mother, Debbie Jackson, and they were speaking with Missouri State Senator Elaine Gannon as they discussed another one of these bills through a legislative committee up in Missouri about a sports bill that would hurt transgender youth. And of course, their participation in it. So they're discussing bathrooms, and Avery was asked, "Oh, so are you showing your genitalia when you're in bathrooms?" Is what Gannon was asking her. And it's a shame that a 14-year-old kid has to then come back and say, "Why are you talking about what's in between my legs when I'm in the bathroom trying to use that? Do you ask anyone else that?" As her mother jumped in as well. So there's, I feel like maybe there's times when folks need to be shamed into pointing out exactly what it is that they're talking about as they talk about protecting children, while you ask one about what's her genitalia is. So let's go to some of the points of this particular bill that they were discussing here. Because this Missouri legislation, it's called the Save Women's Sports Act. It has nothing to do with bathrooms, but the senator's comments revived what LGBT plus advocates have characterized as transphobic hysteria aimed at erasing transgender people from public spaces. The bill is among several similar pieces of legislation working their way through state legislators across the United States. The measure seeks to ban students of the male sex, as assigned at birth, which is all in quotes, from participating in sports designated for females, women, or girls, and would block funding to schools with transgender athletes. So Avery's fighting for transgender kids to play in these sports and also to participate without the politics and the politicians, again, doing this for votes, not because they actually really care about these kids. So in their testimony, lastly, Rick, Avery Jackson told the committee that transgender students should be able to play sports without political interference and warned against the potentially lethal impacts of further marginalizing children already at greater risk of suicide and abuse. These are all kids and they're playing for fun, is what Avery said. I don't understand why this has to be something bigger than that. They're just kids trying to have fun. It's a shame that a 14-year-old, again, Rick, has to tell adults, hey, don't forget, we're talking about freshman team, junior varsity, and maybe varsity. And you're over complaining about me participating. Because apparently every girl that's participating in sports is breaking all these records, and they're so upset about it. And it's destroying sports and competition in general.
Of course, and in the past when they were confronted on all of this, whether it was Jim Justice, West Virginia's governor on MSNBC with Stephanie Rule, or in the Arizona state legislature, they couldn't name a single example in their respective states. Kristi Noem couldn't name a single example in her state. How I view this, and I think this is, in my opinion, the correct lens to view this, is they lost marriage equality. So now what are they doing? They are transitioning and pandering to the suburban mom, the suburban Caucasian mom to be specific, who are saying, look at what's happening here. These liberals want all these people who aren't even with that gender competing against your daughter. Think about the sacrifice. Think about how terrible this is gonna be. And one Republican pollster said that it's a winning issue. Now, how I view this is, it's a winning issue for now. It's not gonna have a large shelf life because just like marriage equality, they will lose it in the end. Thus, what are they doing? They're going all in because people don't really understand the issue as of right now, at least. Like according to USA Today, I think this was published in January, there are like 280 bills attacking trans youth sports. Yet when it comes to other things that might actually benefit society, there are zero. There's no representation from the right.
Absolutely. That's the approach. And I always want to bring up this quote. I feel like I should have it on hand at all times. There's a Republican strategist that said, as we go into the midterms, because again, this is a very short-term thought process for these types of bills. The whole point is to make people think, hey, you have to vote for us in 22 because we're trying to protect your children, as they're attacking other people's children. And many times, those children that they're saying to protect don't care that their classmates are living their lives and being who they are. So by the way, this goes back to parents acting like all their children are so aggrieved over their classmates existing. So anyway, the whole approach here is to make sure that people think, or their supporters think, hey, we're bringing back the culture wars. We're making sure that you have these to glom onto. The strategist openly said, don't show yourself, don't show any principles, no agendas, only these culture war issues that will galvanize people to come out and vote for you. It's all we care about. Don't make any other thought process. That's why down in Florida, the Senator, what's it, Scott down in Florida. Rick Scott down in Florida, he's catching hell from Mitch McConnell and all those guys because he came out with that 11-point plan that has some of their actual plans in it. And they said, shush. They don't like that stuff. Our principles suck. Our agenda sucks. Don't go that route.
Totally.
They don't want that. And they know this. But that's how they get back into office.
You know this.
Oh, good. Go.
No, you know this. Your bills are not popular. You know this. Everything you do is probably gonna have a negative effect for you long term. You know this. Everyone knows this.
100%.
But I agree with you. It's a very short-term way of thinking. I think until people really understand the issue is when they'll say, oh yeah, this isn't really that big of a deal. And if they were so pro-life, they would not exclude people from participating in something like cross country.
Pro-life. Again, it's back to whoever looks like and you relate to directly. If it's not,
very quickly, I cut myself off there at the end. I was going to refer to the Trevor Project, which has some really horrendous statistics about how when the LGBTQ youth are targeted, they are 4 times more likely to unalive themselves, or at least to attempt to, in place of those who are not a member of that community. So if you are indeed so pro-life, you should probably expand their rights and make sure they have a comfortable place to just live instead of excluding them.
Maybe they'll get there.